Hey, welcome back to Building Out Loud with me, Randy Silver, and
Faith Forster.
every week we follow Faith's journey to build discovery. And Faith, last time we had a beta tester and it was very exciting. What's going on this week?
Yeah, so I've had a lot of really useful feedback. So it's definitely getting to the point now where it's like fine tuning, adding the polish, streamlining, just making sure it's all clean and works how it's expected to work and is a good user experience. It's really exciting, actually. It's quite cool. It's given me a lot more confidence about the proposition. There's stuff in there that I think now is just like, it's all the cherry on top stuff. It just adds that bit more value, which is super exciting.
So, you're going to give us a demo in just a minute or two of what's been going on. But you were telling me just before we hit record that you did a session with another very special beta tester yesterday. Tell us about that.
Very special. He'll love that. The special person was my husband, who is also a CEO. It's the end of quarter, so they've just agreed their next quarter's plan, and so he was uploading that plan. I sat there and I just watched him, what he was doing, and it was really interesting because there was the point he was actually like, "This is just frustrating." There was a lot of learning from that, of just observing. Like there were some really obvious fixes I did straight away, but there was also some things I sat back and reflected on, and was like, I think I've set that up the wrong way. And so I've made some pretty significant changes to some of the features and the way that it's set up as a result. But a lot of it was just tidy up and making sure that the platform was actually doing what it's supposed to. For example, when you do the onboarding journey, it asks you to add in any documents and it will set your plan up for you. I don't know how I missed this, but it didn't read PowerPoint, which is probably the most obvious type of document you would want to upload. And so that was one I was like, oh, wow, okay, let me just fix that. But a lot of it was just making sure that it read it properly. So it actually not just pulled out text, it also pulled out graphs and images. And one of the interesting things he noted was he actually wanted it to confirm the information that it had extracted from that document and what it was going to do
Hmm.
before it actually did it. And so that's something that I've added in, which I think is a really important usability thing in general, and now something that's supported throughout the whole platform. So really, really good learnings.
That makes sense. And it's really funny to hear you talk about this because, we always talk about the mom test and whether that is a valid approach or not. The husband test is a really interesting one as well, especially when you're doing it for a niche area like founders, execs, and CPOs.
Yeah, yeah. Kind of lucky that there's two of us doing the same job in the same household. It does have its benefits sometimes.
So, what are you going to demo for us today?
Yeah, well, it's been a little while since I've shown the platform. I think the last time I showed it was when I had just created the new version of the competitor intelligence section and showed that it's not only ran the tasks of finding and populating the competitor profiles, but it also then added in the analysis on top and the recommendations about what to do. So it's been a while because that principle is now applied throughout the product. I mentioned last time we've now built out the strategy section. So there's 20 different specialist strategy assistants that can help you. But I haven't actually shown how that all comes together. So I thought it'd be worth just sort of giving a bit of a quick overview of the platform as it stands today and where we're at.
Well, let's do it.
Okay. So this is now discovery. There's been a lot changed. It is one of the interesting challenges around how quickly this moves, actually, because so many people have been involved in earlier stages of testing. The platform has moved on so much, and they may not be aware of that. And so I have to go back. So there's a couple of things that are worth noting from the early stages, which I think are quite exciting, and some of those nice little cherries on top. So this is the homepage now, which gives you an overview of kind of what's changed or what's happened on the platform since you were last here. This is also shared in either a daily or a weekly email notification. So there's some really cool things on here. And by the way, I'm showing you Discovery's product profile in here. So this is where I've dog fooded it. So if I open up the assistant drawer, you've got a workflow assistant now that helps you do any of your tasks or jobs and changes throughout the platform. The assistants now mention you by name and they introduce themselves and what they're there to do, which is one of the nice little polishing things I've added in. And they also, if they recognize that there's a better assistant to help you do a particular task that you're trying to do, it will hand over to a different assistant with a full brief and background. You've also, though, got this chief of staff that's always available, though that's not loading properly. I'm going to have to fix that. So at any point in time, like if you want this update sent to Slack or you want something updated in your calendar or whatever, at any point, if you want anything updated either on our platform or through one of your MCP server connections, it can do that for you. We also have on here, so the what's changed a lot in the last 24 hours. So I actually went through, because it was sort of doing what you can see here. It was just kind of saying, oh, this profile's been updated and stuff that didn't really matter. And so I kind of went through and said, well, Now, these are the things I really want to know about. I want to know about when a competitor threat level changes, or you found a new customer segment profile, or the growth opportunities or risks associated with that have changed, like things that are more content-based and strategically important, I guess. There was 22 different events that we identified that needed to go in here. And so you can't see this because the data hasn't changed much in the last 24 hours, but that's now a much more robust, useful way of indicating what you should look at. What's next, which is focused on different opportunities that are in progress, either strategic opportunities or within a product domain if you're a product team member. It'll just show you how that's progressing. It will also now sort of flag when approvals are needed, or if it's stuck at a certain stage, it's blocked, so that you can have a look. So we have goals. I realized last week, because we're coming to the end of the quarter, it hadn't notified me to update my growth strategy and to update my goals. And so that's now in here. It's got a sort of calculated cycle that's set up based on your goal periods that you've created, which can be monthly, quarterly, 6 months, or 12 months. And so it will remind you to go ahead and update your growth strategy, but then also update your goals as the end of the cycle approaches. But one of the things that's quite cool on here that I really like is this test a product idea. Any user at any point can come in here and say, I've got this random idea to do X in the product, and it will ask questions. It will test that against your growth strategy and your business goals, this understanding of your competitors and your customer segments needs, and challenge you back on whether or not we should do it. The different responses it will give will be, yes, this is absolutely worth pursuing, and it will create either a strategic opportunity or a domain level opportunity. It'll say more investigations needed and encourage you to go and find more information. It could say, this is a good idea, but not now, based on your other priorities, they're more important, or this is not worth pursuing. So I think that's kind of cool. It sort of helps take some of the pressure off the product team and the CPO or leaders to have those conversations. So anyone can pre-test an idea before it's captured for everyone else to look at.
I want to ask you about the feedback that you're getting, because you're making lots of changes. You're updating this a lot. It's based on your usage, it's based on the conversations you're having, but you've got a limited number of people right now. How much are they actually using it? Are you tracking them, whether they're using these features as you're doing this? Is this based on gut so far? Is this based on data, some combination?
A combination, but obviously the data is limited. So I can see the organizations that have been created, who's logged in, and what they've done, what they've used in it. So if they've created a growth strategy, how many options they've got, if they've created an MCP server connection. I created a little dashboard that only people who have access to the Discovery product on the Discovery platform can access. And so we can monitor usage and sort of see what's happening. So with the beta testing feedback, obviously I've gotten a lot of feedback directly from people, but there's a lot I've interpreted from what I've seen happen or not seen as well, which has been quite useful input. So like a lot of people have signed up and done the growth strategy. There's a lot of curiosity to sort of say, oh, what does it think of my growth strategy? But people haven't then moved on to the next stage and actually created opportunities and uploaded their roadmaps as much. So I have made some changes to the onboarding journey to try and encourage people to do that, and also add more team members as well. So there is definitely some refinement that I have already done, but there will be more that I need to do just to make sure that we are properly supporting people to get to the point of active usage.
Is there a specific signal or goal that you're shooting for to saying this is what I believe is the leading indicator that this is starting to take hold?
Yeah, I've definitely learned a lot about what is active use. So interestingly, I was talking before about redoing the positioning around the growth strategy. And what I've realized is that's not really where I should focus, because yes, it's useful, it's valuable, it's interesting, and it's different, but you only set a strategy once every few months at most. And so if we want people to be actively using this day in, day out, it's not the right focus in terms of talking about the purpose of the platform. Where the actual work gets done is within opportunities. And so that's actually some of the changes I'm still making today based on what I saw my husband doing, is actually redesigned the flow around how you progress through the design and build stages within opportunities, and how that talks to your other tools to do that. And so we're trying to streamline and automate as much as possible, but also make it really flexible and able to support the different processes people have within their organizations.
One of the things I love about the way that Itamar Gila does his roadmap template is it's got time, and there is a bit Gantt charty, which is realistic for lots of organizations, in that it's, we're going to reserve this amount of time to do some discovery, some delivery of things. But there's also a bit on the end that says, here's the effect delay. We can potentially build this in a day now, but it doesn't mean users will change their behavior immediately in a noticeable way. It may take days or weeks or sometimes even months before this type of thing is noticeable. So what is the effect delay that you're thinking about as you play with this? Because as you said, the strategy every few months, so you're starting to do this. How quickly will you know if this is starting to work?
It's an interesting question. So some of the things I'm starting to think about now, because the concept of launching and this being a live working paid for product is coming up very quickly. And so I've been thinking about things like help center documentation. How do I help people understand how to use the platform? Because if I have to manually document every change I make in the platform, that's going to be a nightmare. And so I have started thinking about like, how do I automate that, but not necessarily so that there's documentation somewhere that someone has to go and read. I'm actually thinking I need to document it so an agent can read it, and then an agent can help people within the platform whenever they need that support. And I did actually have a look at whether or not there are any tools that do that yet. There are some examples, but yeah, it's an interesting challenge that's new in this AI world.
And how do you do it in a way that it doesn't come across like clippy?
Yeah. Well, I've got over 80 agents already, so hopefully none of them come across as clippy.
No, but still popping up and saying, it looks like you're trying to do this. Can we?
Yeah. So back to your question around the effect. I don't know, that idea of how you support users to engage with new features, like, so at the moment it's still refinement. People have gone on and tested it and started using it for certain things, but they're not necessarily actively continuing to use it right now. And that's been some of the learning that I've baked into the updates I've made. But I should be pretty close to that being the case. My plan is to go back and chase people to start. The beta testers I offered as a thank you, they would get 3 months free access to the platform whenever I launched it. So I am going to go back and chase people to say, like, if you are now doing final testing, if you want to create your own organization, then you'll get this. But after that, the situation will change. But I hope I will start to see that active usage. One of the things that has become clear though, so I have had the engineer working in the background, so he's now set up the ability to host this in the EU. So it determines the user's location and sends all the storage to the appropriate place to meet GDPR requirements. But it is something that's become clear in quite a few organizations, or people, they couldn't add their own organization's data without getting those approvals first. And so I think that is one of the things that's just a reality of our world today.
Makes sense. You also mentioned the positioning, the messaging may be changing. Remind us where you were last and what you're thinking now.
I think last time we talked about this, I mentioned that we had built 20 different specialist strategy assistants who could help you work through different business growth as well as product growth challenges. I was really excited about because that's something that's like genuinely interesting and different to what exists today. But it's also something that there's a lot of skepticism around, the extent to which AI tooling can help with strategy. And so even though it's the companion, so the idea is it's not setting a strategy for you, it's challenging you and your thinking around different parts of your strategy. I still think that that would be something that people would have a lot of skepticism to and be a sort of mental blocker to using. I've had some people I've spoken to point out some other tools that are in a similar or adjacent space, which actually gave me some different ideas. It's given me a lot more confidence actually to call out what I think I was always kind of in the back of my mind heading towards anyway. Really the role it's playing rather than the function or the features it has is acting as an AI companion to product leaders, like not just the CPO, but also the founders and product teams. So it's kind of like this ever-present coach and support and sparring partner that you can work with from strategic product leadership all the way through to execution. And so that's how I'm now looking to position it, is your AI CPO companion.
That's interesting. It leads to a question of whether this is a product or a feature, in that, is this something that is a platform that people come in and interact with, or is this essentially a personality, a set of skills that you plug into whatever AI, whatever LLM you're already using, where your data already lives? Is this, a personality and a set of skills rather than what it is today?
I don't know how you would do that without it being a platform. So there are a number of skills that I've created, which are basically reference files that when the agents are building new features, they reference skills documentation to say, like, this is the way I need to build up this, create this capability. But within the platform, I'm just going to share again just to talk to some of this. As I've created the platform, I've had some challenge back on just how much is in here. And when I've thought about it and talked to different people about it, it's like, you actually can't take anything out. And it shows how complex our job is. So you've got the competitor intelligence section. So this is looking at all the different competitors and adjacent products and giving an overview of strategic imperatives, risk areas. You can compare your competitors in different dimensions, and it gives you product recommendations. So I think we've talked about that before. You've also got the detailed competitor profiles, a market review, and it's also pulling from external sources any feedback it can find on your competitors. You've got the same kind of thing for your customer insights. So you've got your overview analysis of all your customer segments, where there's growth opportunities and risks. Again, you've got product recommendations. You've got your profiles, and then you can also add in from either internal sources as well as external sources any feedback that it's getting. You've got your growth strategy, so you can talk through and bounce ideas, and it will challenge you back on what you're thinking for your growth strategy and any risks associated with that. You can put in your business goals and also team level metrics. Off the back of that, you can create strategic opportunities. And this is where you can have conversations with the specialist assistants. There's no preset template on the area. It really depends on what it is you're trying to do and the relevant assistant that's helping you. You can have a conversation in this example about pricing with the assistant, and it will all the considerations associated with whatever pricing structure you're exploring. That varies for different types of strategic initiatives. So there's another one here, which is raising investment. And so the nature of the conversation, the assistant that's helping you is quite different in this context. These areas are all very flexible. It's one of the big shifts that I've done in this platform. A lot of the UX around it is more emergent. It's not as structured or set, and really depends on what it is you're trying to do. You've got your roadmap. You've also got your product dashboard. So this now, I haven't pushed the updates, most recent updates, but as well as commercial impact and customer value, a lot of which has preset templates. You can also add in custom metrics. So you've got the ad insights agents here. So they'll actually have a conversation with you about the nature of your product and help you work out what are the right metrics to be monitoring. And then we'll hand over to another analytics assistant, which will then set up your MCP server connections to the appropriate analytics tools and find the right data and work out the calculations and make sure that those metrics are set up appropriately. And the final one I added in here, which hasn't updated, is another tab now for product financials. So you can actually understand all of the financial metrics associated with your product as well. So that's kind of all sits at like the product strategy level. And then you've got your different product domains. And so this is like basically your product team workspaces. They have their own opportunities. They've got their North Star metric here. They have their own roadmap. Any feedback that's relevant to this particular area is here. And then they've got their own dashboard as well. There's a lot in here, and it's all backed up by like over 80 agents that are.
It is, and I get it. I think the abstraction layer that I'm thinking about, it has to do with you're right now thinking about pricing this in terms of seats. And so it's always going to be limited to how many people in a company get access to this. And the real value is then sharing that information back. So how do you do that and populate it with everyone else? And people work in different ways. This is a mental model that makes sense from your perspective right now. And I'm curious to see how other people adopt it and whether they do it in here or whether they want to use this type of intelligence somewhere else.
You can set up an MCP server connection to any of your existing tools pretty much anywhere in the platform. So it is possible that an organization might just have one user and then share the information out. I think if they did, though, they would not get anywhere near as much value, because a lot of it's setting up a very rich context so that can be used within the context of actually doing the work on your opportunities and the designs and the builds and how that works. And it comes full circle. While I've got the roadmaps in there, the emphasis of them is quite different. It's all very much focused on value realization. So when is that delivered so that we then start realizing the value, and how does that contribute back to your North Star metric and the overall business goals? And so I think without that full circle loop, you really wouldn't get the value out of it as much, because that then feeds back into your growth strategy and your revision your growth strategy and what you should therefore be focusing on if it's got that data in that context.
There's incredible information and how it all comes together. I'm just not sure I'm seeing exactly how it goes into people's daily workflow, how it becomes part of their life yet. But I don't know. I'm really interested to see how people adopt it, what kind of feedback they give you, and what nudges you get out of that, and where you go from here. This is definitely not the finished product, and that's not a bad thing.
Actually, that was one of the comments my husband made last night. It's like, this will never be finished. There'll always be refinements and things that can be updated. And when you're dealing with agents, there'll always be niggles, I think, in the platform.
And how we work with agents is going to evolve and evolve quickly, so we'll see.
Yeah, but the intended role for this is that it acts as the hub to really understand and drive what we've traditionally called product-led organizations. Whether or not that actually happens, we'll see. But that's certainly what I will continue to get feedback and refine and move towards.
Fantastic. Okay, so it is Easter week while we're recording this. I know we put these out a few weeks later. What are you doing for the next week or two? What's our schedule like right now?
So I'm going to use this couple of weeks while some people are on holidays, but those who aren't are probably less busy. I'm going to put that call out for final feedback. The deadline I'm giving myself to get this to the point of being a paid for product is the end of those holidays, so in 2 weeks' time. So I do need to
Woot
run
woot.
for a business, set up the payment gateway and get that all ready to go. And I'll put an incentive out to say, like, if you sign up before the end of April, then you get your first seat for free forever, recognizing that a lot of people are just going to want to jump on this and test it themselves before they have the confidence to bring their team on. But that's the plan. That's the focus.
Fantastic. Well, I look forward to checking in with you on that, and let's see how it goes.